The detail in terms of costuming, art direction obviously is huge. They think of everything. They build anything. Like, for example, Roland showed me a shot today of the aircraft carrier. I thought it was a real aircraft carrier. They built it. The movies is magic. Just a nice guy, you know. Always just got a sweet spirit and easy to talk to, easy to get along with, and the same way on set. He's got his hands full, you know. I mean, it's a big movie, but very easygoing. Let's see how this next scene goes with me in it. I like it very much. You know, it's nice to be around a director that knows what he's doing, that has the whole, you know, model in his head, but is also very easy and forgiving, you know, that will let you do your thing and sort of let things progress as they will. He's greatest pilot that ever flew. He has so many aviation firsts. One huge one, is that he invented basically instrument flying. So he blacked out the cockpit, had a pilot in the front and he was in the back. That pilot put up his hands and he went up and he flew instruments for the first time. So what does that mean? You know, you have VFR flying, which is you know, visual. You can see it. You know, there's no clouds in the sky. He paved the way so that we could fly in clouds in bad weather and at night and land safely. Huge. And other innovations that I don't even know about. But when you say Jimmy Doolittle's name, it's recognizable and it's honored. There's always you know, for aviation buffs and for non-aviation buffs, his contribution to the war, his personality, his attention to detail was legendary.
When I knew Roland Emmerich was doing this, I was like, oh, this is a guy that knows how to shoot action narrative. You know, not just entertainment, because obviously he's very famous for that as well and very good at that. There has to be a level of understanding this action and really pushing narrative through big sequences. So I kind of knew that when I got to set, it was going to be of that level. But still, I was nonetheless gobsmacked when I got here. Today is the first day I ever saw it, and there is the length of an actual carrier of the USS Enterprise, just recreated with two planes that, with two I think one's two torpedo bombers that are exact replicas from World War II, and I can't help but think, man, this must be the biggest dream for a set master or prop designer or something like that, because you just get to build these massive toys. I mean, I can hardly call them toys, but they're these beautiful pieces of machinery that they now get to bring to life. The just sheer scale of all the extras, all the actors all dressed in the correct period attire and having these planes rolling around, and you just feel like you're in an aircraft carrier. When I joined, I'd only heard that Woody Harrelson and Mandy Moore were doing it, which is cool enough for me. We have Dennis Quaid, we have Ed Skrein, my buddy Luke Evans, we have my buddy Nick Jonas as well. There's so many, Aaron Eckhart. That's the cool thing about, you know, big war movies, is that it is such a huge ensemble piece to be here amongst so many amazing cast members. I'm not even calling myself amazing, but I feel like I get to be amazing next to all these other people. These huge turning points, I think people have to understand how they happened, why they happened, because they're a huge part of what makes the world it is today. Not only the United States or Japan, but the world was shaped by, was a world war. So hopefully people can be as educated as they will be entertained. I think there's anytime anybody plays a character that was a real person, of course there's pressure. I guess the advantage is that for the most part, I'm assuming, unless you were around in 1942 on these tours that I was talking about, or on the USS Enterprise, most people are unfamiliar. So with whoever Lindsay was, so you're trying to paint an accessible portrait of somebody that you know, people can hopefully get behind. But in the context of our story, you know, Lindsay is lieutenant commander and is the superior officer to Dick Best, who is one of our story's kind of more central heroes. Even though there's several heroes in the film, I think everybody kind of serves their own heroism in their own way. But him being the sort of hotshot pilot, I think Lindsay, at least in the context of our story, serves as his sort of counter, somebody that is that you think is maybe a little too by the book, but I think you come to realize that this is somebody that has a deep devotion and commitment to his country and to his role as a pilot.
The first thing that excited me about this story was Roland Emmerich, because I worked with him on The Day After Tomorrow. And the movies that he makes, he shows audiences what they want to see, but they have never seen before. And he does it in a way that just makes you believe. Midway was one of the largest battles, one of the most key battles of World War II. And it has never been told right. There was a movie that was made, I think it was 1962, Henry Fonda, Robert Mitchum played my part, which is Admiral Bull Halsey, and Glenn Ford, and you know, those are the guys that actually went through World War II and stuff, but they didn't make movies back then that really showed what the boys really went through. And they talked about courage, but I know myself in that generation, I still wondered what courage was, because I never saw what they were actually up against. Roland is a master. No one does this better than Roland. I mean, this movie is such a huge scale. I mean, David Lean used to do this kind of scale of a film, and or the Sand Pebbles, or it's big. And Roland, there's not too many directors who know how to do it. It can be overwhelming. And Roland shows you, like I said, something that you've always wanted to see, but you've never seen it before. And he shows it to you just the way you wanted to see it, you know? And so he thrills you. And he also, at the same time of doing that, he brings that human story. It gets even more magnified because you know what people are up against, because he's created this world and this frame around you that raises the stakes. Halsey's legacy, I think, is the United States after World War II. You know, there was a time there that we might have lost the war for about a year. And it was men like Halsey who kept that from happening. And sometimes in spite of ourselves, you know, who showed a brave heart, a brave soul, a stout heart. And also the men of the USS Enterprise who went on to live.
I really felt like this is really something I want to be a part of, because, you know, of course we know that this is going to be a story of epic scale with someone like Roland, and you know, even what actually happened at the Battle of Midway is just such an amazing, huge, epic thing that almost seems unbelievable. But the fact that this story is rooted in just a man whose strength and direction comes from his family, so that kind of epic scale and intimate emotional narrative as a duality was really what made me so excited to join. Dick Best is a New Jersey flyboy who is a cocky son of a something by his own words in the script. He is the most talented pilot in his squadron, but I think he's a pain in the behind for his squadron leaders. Best is involved in the Marshall Island raids. He's involved in the 2 bombings of the 2 carriers at Midway. Best is the only pilot to have bombed 2 carriers in one day, believe it or not, which again sounds like Hollywood BS. And it's quite unbelievable to imagine the kind of bravery that would go into something like that, to go out, bomb a carrier, an enemy carrier, and then come back having lost so many men, gather up the rest of the men, go back out and you know, bomb another one. And Mandy Moore, who is a force of nature and a dynamite actress. Somehow she has great power and incredible humility in front of the camera at the same time, a wonderful duality. She is a dynamite character as Anne Best. And every time I'd see her on the monitors, I'd think, wow, you know, she is a formidable force. And there's a line in the script where Luke Evans' character McCluskey says, I've got to tell you, I've often wondered what type of woman would marry Dick Best, and you do not disappoint. And she really is the perfect counterpart to Best. I'd say Best is the counterpart to her.
とてもよくできたスクリプトだと思いました。こうアクション、すごく素晴らしいアクションと、そしてヒューマンドラマ、人間のドラマっていうのがすごく程よくブレンドされていて、とてもその奥にあるテーマみたいなものもとてもなんか深いものがあるなって感じました。特に山本さんのようなすごく有名な very famous なでポピュラーな人を演じるっていうのはやっぱりすごくプレッシャーがあります。でもなんだろう、僕が一番気をつけてるのは実在した人物は必ず家族がいたり親戚がいたり、今まだ、そういう方々がいらっしゃるわけで、そういう方が不快にならないようにそのキャラクターを考えることを一番気にかけています。なんでしょう、まあこのストーリーの中で、最初にレイトンと山本さんが話し合うシーンがあって、それはとても重要なシーンなんですけれども、まあレイトンさんはその時ネイバルアタッシェ、山本さんはユースとビネイバルアタッシェで、お互いの立場をすごく理解していると。そこからまあちょっとオフな話になっていくんだけど、やっぱりその2人とも、日本とアメリカが戦争することに反対の立場だったっていうところがやっぱりとてもこの映画の面白いところだと思うし、大きな、このストーリーのテーマにつながっていく部分だと思います。もちろんローランドさんの作品は何本も見ていますし、多分このミッドウェイもまるで戦場に自分がいるかのような、すごくそういうとても現実的な感覚にオーディエンスをさせてくれる映画になると思います。
The amount of practical elements that Roland brings into the film really helps with the performances. We have these water cannons that replicate a bomb exploding or dunking into the water, and that shot an actual explosion of water to about 30 feet in the air and lands on the deck. So things like this, where we don't have to only look at a blue screen. We get to have the blue screen there, but then also have all these other elements as well. Makes it feel really real. We had 2 consultants on set with incredible history and incredible facts, and I think best of all, because they experienced it, learning how to respectfully play these characters and respectfully show even just movements. We had a fighter pilot specialist who just showed us simple ways of how he would move and transfer his weight, and simple things like that make it more real for us and hopefully more real for the audience. Everyone has a very specific method, and it's cool to have kind of like a melting pot of different styles and different textures with all these different actors. We're all from different places, and we've all learned acting in a different way, so it's cool to see a bunch of these really talented, kind of sought-after actors all together in one film. I think we all know the devastation of Pearl Harbor, but we don't know the triumph of the Battle of Midway. And I think showing people what actually happened, and showing that we didn't just sit back and allow it to happen, but we fought for what we thought was right, I think is very, very important.
It's always very interesting to take on a story and a role that is from real life. And this was a very important battle with the Americans and the Japanese within the Pacific. And you know, these guys were real heroes. And when I picked up the script, I thought I'm probably going to get a little confused because I didn't know about this battle very, very well. But the script is so well written, it really plots the story. And also you see it from the POV of many different characters within the story. All of them played very important roles within this battle and World War II. So yeah, it felt like a very special story. You know, you're bringing to life and telling the story of real life heroes, and that's always a privilege. And when it's being helmed by somebody like Roland Emmerich, who knows this genre very, very well, I felt like I would be in very good hands. And I've always wanted to work with him, so it was a great opportunity. That's something I've walked away with, realizing these guys really were heroes. They were selfless and bravery to a completely different level. Every time my character, Wade McCluskey, has a line in the film where he says, every time we go up in one of these planes, there's a good chance we might not come back. And that's, you know, to be able to, you know, that's your job, is that every time you do your job, there's a chance that you're going to die. Makes you contextualize what this war meant, and what these pilots and sailors and U.S. naval, you know, guys sacrificed. You know, we all realize we have a very important role and responsibility, because we're all playing real people, and their relatives, and we'll get to see what their ancestor did all those years ago. And so you feel a sense of responsibility to do a good job and an honest job and tell a story, tell this incredible story about these men. Knowing Roland's work, the battle sequences and the battleships and the airborne fights and battles will look incredible. I mean, you just know that it'll be a spectacle to watch. But also, there's a real heart to the story. We're not just watching the airplanes, but we're inside the planes with the pilots, seeing the reactions on their faces, seeing, the desperation and all of that stuff, which I think is what will make this story come alive. Not just because it'll look fantastic, but also you'll be with those pilots. You'll feel their anguish and their desperation and their bravery and their, being scared. You know, all of those things are going on in each of those scenes. You know, so it's great. I mean, he's definitely I feel very confident with how Roland is telling the story, and I think it'll be quite the adventure.
Our Navy was the underdog. You know, when you think of the American Navy, you think of their fleet as like, it's the American Navy, the best and the best, which was actually not true. The Japanese Navy was much stronger than the American Navy, and we were outnumbered completely. And after the attack on Pearl Harbor, you know, our Navy was defeated and the morale was completely lost. So for these men to come back and rise to the occasion of winning the war, that's surprising. There's a lot of people in my generation that don't know of the story, and especially kids of the new generations. And they should know. You know, they should know the men who died to give them the freedoms that they have. And I think it's important to know anything in history, really, so that you don't make those mistakes twice. You know, because nobody wants to go to war. So what do we learn from our past, and how do we change the future? And also, how do we remember the men who fought and gave their lives for the ones they love and the people they didn't know? I think Clarence Dickinson's legacy is a man who changed the course of history, a man who gave me an opportunity to live in the America that I live in today, to have the freedoms that I have. He's a hero, and he'll forever be remembered as a hero. And I think it's important we're telling his story, because that's what he should be remembered as. All of these men should be remembered as that.
Ed is a gentleman. I love that he is sort of so stoic and strong, and really sort of is able to portray those aspects of Dick. He sort of shows the vulnerability that I think Anne is the only one that kind of gets to see. He just brings a range and just so many colors to this character. He's so handsome, he's so winning, you can't help but root for him. But he makes such interesting choices as an actor, and as a scene partner, he is such a delight to work with. We were lucky enough to shoot at Hickam Air Force Base and Ford Island, and I think just the sense of shooting in these historical locations, these are where the families actually lived during World War II. It brings a level of authenticity, it helps you sort of really feel grounded and put yourself in those character shoes. Roland's films are always so visually stunning, and I've never been a part of something on this scale before. I think the level and focus and attention on detail is something you have come to expect from him, but I even think it's multiplied with this particular movie. I mean, the fact that they're recreating these particular scenes, they're recreating some of the aircrafts from the time. I happened to be shooting in an old abandoned home on Hickam Air Force Base that they brought to life again, and it felt again like you were back in the early 40s, and it does something to you as an actor. It's sort of the cherry on the sundae. You can do as much research as you want. Obviously getting into hair and makeup and wardrobe can help sort of firm you up as to who these people are, but when you're surrounded by what the world sort of looks like at that time, it just takes it over the top for you. It makes your job exponentially easier. I think this movie is timely and important because we're telling, these true stories of real heroes, of men who have oftentimes been forgotten, or their stories have been misrepresented or mistold. I love that by being a part of this movie, we're honoring the greatest generation, and being able to sort of pass on this piece of history to the next generation. I think this is a movie that audiences will feel in awe of, and it's like we're all going to be transported back into time, and there's always something to learn from a historical movie like this, and just seeing the grit and the determination these men and their acts of bravery, it's definitely something to celebrate.
I have an affinity for stories where there's brotherhood and camaraderie at the center of them. Maybe that's because I'm close to my brothers and understand that dynamic and that relationship. But also because this is just a story that I think needs to be told. I learned a lot about it, having read the script and then just diving in more on the ground here on the set, just trying to be a sponge, and trying to learn as much as possible and give honor and respect to the veterans and our military men and women. One of the things that I read that I thought had to be Hollywood, or made to be perhaps more than it was actually the part that I got to do, which was Bruno's kind of big reveal as a very brave individual. And from all that I've heard, it's true, which is amazing. And I'm referring to him getting in the SPD and shooting one of the planes down that was meant to attack the ship, and his bravery in that moment and his out-of-the-box thinking in a moment of real necessity was so key. And he jumped up and did what he had to do, and apparently it's true, but it's going to make for a really exciting moment on screen as well. When you're filming a scene that's as intense as the one we were just filming, Bruno's big moment where he gets in the back of the plane and shoots down another plane that's coming into attack, the thing I'm thinking about as an actor is two things. I don't want to mess this up, because you only get so many takes, and when it's such an important moment to set up the stakes for the character and for the story, you want to get it right. And with the wet floor and jumping up onto the plane, jumping in the back, and seamlessly grabbing the machine gun out of the back, there's a lot of moving parts. But what I've learned is that, slow is fast, fast is slow. So I take my time in those moments and know that as long as it looks smooth, it'll be all right. And then the other big aspect is that, because it's one of those moments that can feel larger than life and perhaps like it was made to be more for the screen than what really happened, you try to keep it as real as possible as an actor and as intense as you can and live in that moment. And for me, that's I do that throughout the whole day, staying in that frame of mind and letting those stakes sit with me, because we want to bring the audience all of the feelings and all of the emotions and the heightened sense of reality in those moments. Roland is incredible at seeing the big picture before it's a big picture, and finding a way to have these moments that feel larger than life, but then suddenly make it feel very personal. And as a filmmaker, that's something I always look for when I'm looking at different projects and things I want to work on. And working with someone like him has been a dream of mine, and working with him is kind of a dream come true. Authenticity is key with this entire film. I'm seeing that everywhere I look. And the clothes are a prime example of that. This is exactly what they would have been wearing, exactly how they would have been wearing it. And it's incredible to see the level of detail that's gone into all of it. And when you walk around the sets, it takes up almost 2 studios, and it's just a portion of what the actual ship would be.
Leighton is an intelligence officer, so he's very analytical. But what I found very interesting about him when I read a lot about him, I like to read what people say about him than what he says about himself. He was known as being pretty dry, pretty quick-witted. I think he knew that. Roland has just been awesome. I told him after a couple weeks, I said, there's nothing that phases you. I think when you're Roland and you deal with the scope of some of the movies that he does, nothing is too big. This is a massive film, and yet he just directs every moment to moment to moment to moment, and he just kind of laughs it off, and there's a great amount of passion and fun and love for filmmaking that I see with him that is absolutely infectious. It makes you want to work with him again and again. We defied the odds with a little bit of luck, a ton of skill, some good intelligence work. We won, and it changed the course because there had been a lot of battles leading up to this, and Midway was huge. And when I met Admiral Ford at Pearl Harbor, and his first thing he said to me was, "I'm an expert on Midway. It's my favorite battle." Like, Navy guys understand the importance of this. And I think because of technology, that there just hasn't been a proper film about it. I don't know if it could have been done between all the flying and the sailing and all the effects. It's a little easier to probably shoot a movie in the... What am I saying? I've never shot a movie in Germany, but I'm saying that those types of World War II movies are certainly, I think, probably at least easier from an effects level than a movie in the Pacific. So knowing that it couldn't be done before in a proper way, it's really exciting to be a part of it now.
It's a really interesting battle because it has like a lot of like kind of things going for it. The Americans were the underdog. They were not as ready for war than the Japanese were. And then, you know, this was like kind of quite a fast turnaround. A lot of luck, a lot of bravery. And, you know, and it was like just this kind of thing where they were fighting for freedom, which we then sometimes, you know, forget. You know, World War II was about freedom, defeating fascism. And fascism was pretty much taking over the world. So it was a very, very scary situation. And pretty much like England and America was the last, you know, really Western, you know, power standing. And they had to kind of fight for, democracy. We'll like kind of concentrate our story on a very, very brave and daring pilot. He's maybe a little bit too daring, a little bit too brave, a little bit too reckless. And he has this wife at home and a little girl, which shows a very soft side of him. And I think they both want him to become a squadron leader. And they both want him to be, you know, like as, you know, but he learns like during the movie that it's not only about bravery and being, you know, gung-ho, it's about leading men. And that's like the story with him and his wife, because he like slowly learns, you know, there is more to it than, you know, being brave. Yes, we could have done these cannons also in CGI. It's actually super easy to do it in CGI for these couple of shots, what we used them for. But I said like this has to be real because it will give the people a certain adrenaline. It's just like kind of, and you know, we do this both on the American and Japanese side, and we use so many of these shots. It's maybe I used more because I had them in real than when I would have done them in CGI. And I give you like kind of some sort of, we're like kind of it's not only a game, because these things were loud. And that like kind of also tells the actors how loud they have to speak, etc. It's just, it's very, very important, I think. It's really, as I said, it's like when you want to balance out story against visual effects, what you really have to do is like you have to first look at your characters, you have to look at your actors, and then like kind of only work with them. Don't ever think about anything else than that. And then when you like kind of in the editing room and you can breathe freely, then you like start like kind of looking at the visual effects. Because then it's like kind of, I always do it like that. And don't forget what you have beforehand, you have like something like called pre-visualization. It's pretty much like kind of tells you the whole scene, you know, in a very comic book way, but it's still the scene, you know, and then, you know, but you know, you have this in the back of your head, you know, and once in a while show it to them and they're all like, ah and oh, and whatever. But I don't care really about that. I only care about what I see on my monitor, and that's all what I care about. And then later, I care about the rest. Midway is one of the biggest, war movies came around in a long time. It's of massive scale, but it also has very, very small personal stories in it, which I think will touch people's heart.
最初に台本もらった時に何よりもやっぱり僕の役が気になったんですね。っていうのはそのタモンさんが僕の役なんですけど実在した人物ですし、このお話自体も実際に歴史上で起きた話なんで、その辺がやっぱり一番僕は気になってましたし、で読んだ時にやっぱりもちろんそのいろんな捉え方ができる内容ではあると思うんですね。特に我々日本人にとっては。ただタモンさんっていう人がものすごい力強い人でしたし、その人のことを調べれば調べるほど魅力的な人だったので、その部分でやっぱものすごい思いが強くなりましたからね、この台本に対して。そうですね、今も例えばブルーバックでアクションのシーンではないですけど撮影してたり、昨日も一日ブルーバックの前で撮影して、昨日はちょっとだけ動きのあるシーンもありましたし、そういうのを見ててもう何が起きるのかなって僕自身もちょっとまだ想像しきれてないんですけど、きっとそのダイナミックなその戦いのシーンだったりっていうのは監督もやる気があってものすごい力でやってると思うんで、それはものすごい楽しみですし、そうですね、他のアメリカの方たちが撮ってるシーンっていうのも僕自身は楽しみにしてるんで、きっとそれは力強い映画になると思いますね。いやもう本当に今乗った小さい船とかにしても、その土井さんがやっぱりこれはすごいよって言ってるんですね。やっぱりその本物の人が見てもものすごいきちっとできてて、それで僕も乗りたいなっていうぐらいに土井さんも言ってましたから、それぐらいやっぱり本物の人が見てももうきちっとしたものが出来上がってますし、僕自身も乗っててやっぱりなるほどな、土井さんがそこまで言うんだからもうこれ間違いないんだなって自信持って乗れますし、もちろん僕が素人目に見てもすごくクオリティは高いですし、こういう衣装にしても何にしても全部がその当時のものをきちっと再現してるんで、自信持っていいものだと思いますね。これは本当に見るジェネレーションによって違うかなとも思うんですね。もう実際に戦争を体験した方々がまだ生きてらっしゃいますし、その人たちが見た時にまたもちろん国によっても違うと思うんですね。アメリカ人が見たら、日本人が見たら、もちろん違う国の人が見たらでそれぞれの感想が違うと思うんですけど、ただ本当にその感想を我々も聞きたいですし、あとは若い人たちが見た時に実際にこういう戦争があったんだっていうことを知った時にまたどういうことを考えてくれるのかなっていうのはもちろん楽しみでありますし、何しろ本当に戦争で辛い思いをした人たちがいますからね。その人たちが何かこういうところを通じて我々に何かいいことを教えてくれればいいなと思いますけどね。
Any movie that gets made is a miracle. This one in particular had so many challenges facing it. So to be here actually in production is amazing. But also to be able to come to the place where some of these events actually happen, and for the Navy to be so supportive, and to be able to, I think even the actors can feel there's a texture here and a richness to shooting, in a spot where these events occurred. And every day when you're driving onto the base, you're driving past the remains of the USS Arizona. So there's this this emotional resonance that also comes with being in the spot rather than just shooting on some soundstage. It just felt like in this moment that there is a huge resonance where we're looking for things that'll bring us together and remind us of who we are as a nation, and what are the things that inspire us and what are the things that make us potentially great. That it was very helpful to go and tell a story about one of our greatest moments, a moment where we rallied together and all came together. It's an absolutely extraordinary cast, top to bottom. I'm just shocked every day by the performances we're getting and by the people who decided to show up and be in the film. Why did they decide to be in the film? I think that these movies are increasingly rare. This is a true epic. When people think of Roland Emmerich, I think the first thing they think of is his amazing ability to handle scope and, blow things up. And this is a film in which we blow a lot of things up. But what they forget is that he has this incredibly deft gift for the human touch and finding the human emotion in those stories. And that is the great challenge of this film, to be able to capture both the, huge scope and devastation of these battles, yet also find the human story underneath it all. I think like all war films, you hope, first of all, it says something about the cost of war and the price that we pay when we go to war and who those burdens fall upon. You know, we're a nation that has been essentially at war for 17 years now, and there are families and people who are shouldering that burden. And I hope that, you know, this movie will be a tribute not just to the people who served back in the Second World War, but also a tribute to the people who are serving now.
Chester Nimitz was a guy who, you know, obviously a career Navy man. When he became the head of the Pacific Fleet, it was in a sorry state after Pearl Harbor, and there was a lot of pressure on the United States to build these ships quickly and do what they could to become a power. And he just was the right man for the job. He was a relentless, hard-working guy who very thoughtful and really made great decisions that changed the course of the war. I think it's important in getting the people's concept of World War II right, because there were a lot of very crucial events that happened in the course of World War II, most of which people are familiar with, but people are not generally familiar with the Battle of Midway. I wasn't, and when I talk about it to people, they don't know about it, you know. So I think it's great that the people who were involved in it are getting the credit they deserve. I think Roland Emmerich is one of the great directors. I mean, for these kind of movies, which are very exciting films and that he's made, that I love to watch. You know, I just love these kind of, you know, these are epic adventure action movies. So it's a privilege to work with him, and especially on such an important story. If you want to see Midway, you want to see it on the big screen, because seeing it on smaller screen or TV or something, you're just not going to get the huge, epic vista that you would seeing it in the theater. Hell, I'd see it in the IMAX, you know. That's where I'd like to see it.